Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode in our second series. We've just had an amazing chat with casting associate Olissa Rogers. No, let me start that again. I'm just
Mhm.
going to say casting director. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for clicking on another episode of our second series here at In the Room. It's great to have you on board. We've just had a wonderful chat with the brilliant Olissa Rogers, haven't we, Christian? Tell us what we spoke about.
We have. We spoke about the entire casting process, showreels, self-belief, authenticity being a huge factor in the process, and many more things that we're really excited for you to tune into.
It was absolutely brilliant. Alyssa's full of so much energy and joy. This is a podcast that you're going to really have fun listening to. And just before we play this interview, while we've got you here, we'd love to ask if you can subscribe to our podcast, download it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're picking us up. Leave us a review, a nice comment. It really does make a difference. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter and Instagram. Please do engage with us. We love talking to the community that we're slowly starting to build here. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and we'll let you enjoy In the Room with Olissa Rogers. Hello, Olissa. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad. Christian, how are you doing? You good?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Olissa. It's been fantastic. We've been waiting to record this podcast for months, so we're really excited to have a good chat. And we're just going to jump straight into the questions. And we always like to know what an individual's journey is into casting, whether it's the case of being an actor or another industry role first, or having a definitive drive to work as a casting director from the off. What was your journey into casting?
I fell pretty much into it. So some casting people do come from the acting background. I fell into it, but I do have an acting background as well. So I always wanted to perform and stuff, but I was a bit too lazy to apply for all the schools. So my parents said, "Well, so you have to do something," and I didn't want to go to university, so I applied for this internship at this TV company, and they said, "You're going to go into casting." I had no idea what it was. And pretty much that's where I started. They said, "You're doing good at this. You're doing good at this." And I got one promotion after the other. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I think I can do this." And that's how my journey pretty much began. Moving to London, meeting Jeremy Zimmermann, starting to work for him and other people, then moving forwards. And I do have an acting background, but I fell into it. And yeah, I discovered I knew what I was doing pretty much, so I stayed in casting. Even though I did try to balance it out with acting at the beginning, but then I was like, nah, focus on one thing. Don't do too many things at once. So that's all in a nutshell. Long story short.
Amazing. I'd love to just start with debunking some of the myths in the industry around casting directors, because casting directors, like agents, are often seen as these mythical creatures with so many different opinions flying around. What are the biggest misconceptions that you've heard about casting directors or just the casting process in general?
I think actors worry that if they've done a bad audition, that they're going to be put on some kind of blacklist, or we're never going to put them
We're
at
not.
rooms. Which is not true, because everybody knows some people have a down day, and that can happen. There's nerves and everything happening. And another myth is that everybody assumes that casting directors have lists,
Mm,
specific lists that they go out to, or they just go out to certain agents, which may be true to some offices, but definitely not all offices. I think those are the two biggest myths that I've also come across. Like every time I do a workshop, that's always one of the questions in the Q&A.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all terrified of being put on these apparent blacklists. It's amazing how actors immediately jump. If you don't get the part, it's immediately onto all the negative side of things for a lot of people. I mean, including myself. It's about, why didn't I get the part? I must have been rubbish. Now I'll never get called in again. And that could be even if you get a recall. It's amazing how quickly we tend to jump on the negative in circumstances like that.
Yeah. And I just think if you've been called into the room for a reason, also recall. There's a reason why you've done a good job, and it's always other different circumstances. Like the part got cut, they changed the part to somebody completely different now, or the actor works better with another actor. It's so many different things that influence that decision. It rarely has to do with the acting talent, to be honest. Like 5% of those maybe. But mainly there's no such thing as a blacklist. Not that I know of. I mean, if somebody doesn't behave well on set or is known to not being able to work with, yeah, people will remember. And you don't want to work with somebody who you can't get along with on set. That just delays the whole process. But such thing as a blacklist, no.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And as you say, being called in the first place is always a great thing to note, and that casting directors must believe you're good to even get in the room. But we here at In the Room, we're on a 2-person crusade to improve actors' networking. And while you can't control whether you get a response in emails, how do you go about seeking one? How you try and get a response off a casting director, whether that's an email or 6 months down the line you might get called in by someone you dropped an email to? How you go about it is up to the actor. How does an actor positively get your attention, and what mistakes do or have actors made that keep you up at night?
Doesn't keep me up at night. But I feel like actors sometimes try too hard, and you can sense when they just are nice because of who you are. Like schmoozing, if that's the word. They're just too nice. It's like, just calm down. You're a person like me and you. They put you on a throne, on a pedestal, which is not right, which is not the truth. We need you as much as the actors need us. It's a two-way street. So I think actors should just be themselves, and yeah, just be genuine, do your best, be polite, and then leave it as if it was a normal job interview. If it wasn't, if just pretend you're going for an interview for a lawyer. I don't know, and just show off your best and then go.
Yeah.
And it's like with networking events, if you have some kind of parties or something, I think the last thing that people want to talk about is acting. If you're a casting director, you've dealt with that all day, so just talk about whatever you want to talk about. And if it's acting, yeah, but just don't put yourself under pressure having to know the latest super movie yeah, that kind of stuff. Don't put yourself too much under pressure, and don't overthink it, I think. Does that answer the questions?
Yes.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah. No, it does. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're so right. Working in a agency job for a good half of this year now, and I get through a lot of these seeking representation emails, and you're so right about and it's the amount of time in a day that you have as either an agent or a casting director. You spend your whole day going through emails, and the last thing you really want to do is trudge through a 3-page email telling you how amazing you are. I mean, hey, I might enjoy that, but sometimes I don't get many of them. But you're so right. It's just get to it, present what you've got, and leave. But it's a virtual exchange. It's not like you can actually walk out of a room. But don't overstay your welcome with written words. Always seems to me that when you get an email through with 6 paragraphs worth of stuff, no matter how good the intention is behind it, it's just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you said about it being a real collaborative experience, where actors are bringing a lot to the table and the casting directors are bringing a lot to the table. It's just a collaboration there. I was going to ask, in every job, we take aspects of those working around us we like and we put it into our own work, whether it's Theo Park, Amy Hubbard, Fiona Weir, or others. What have you taken from casting directors more experienced than yourself and applied that to your own work?
I think for me, it must be the avail checks that you have to do over and over for actors, because projects can sometimes take a while until it actually comes into movement. So it
Hmm.
could be two months gone after the audition, and still nothing has been decided on that role. And since then, the actor might have already taken on another job. So checking them again, not assuming they're still free.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something I learned. And I've always had, with well, being grown up in Germany, I've always been very efficient, very OCD, very, so I didn't have to learn that, which is a thing though. You have to be very, 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 very neat, very on top of things. Lists just have to look all nice. But I already had that with my upgrowing in a military family and being in Germany. I was like full blast of that.
Wow, yeah.
But for me, it was more the regularly checks and being communicative with the agents and the actors, because sometimes agents aren't very, they are sometimes a bit secretive, so sometimes you have to give it a bit of a push for more information. And I also learning, of course, about contracts, the whole deals, the whole money negotiation, credits, where they're going to be on the billing, which trailer are they going to have. And I don't really like negotiating and stuff. I'm just like, just say yes.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something that I've learned apart from like avail checks a lot. That was, yeah,
Yeah.
look, yeah.
I'd love to zone in a bit there when you spoke about being, efficient and organized and things like that. And I think some actors do struggle with that. I remember we put a tweet out saying, organization is something that's quite key. And there was a bit of a kickback from some actors talking about how they might have either some special educational needs or something going on that means that organizing in the traditional sense of the word is quite difficult for them. What tips do you have in terms of staying organized, staying on it, or any techniques that you use to remember these things, like, who have I availability checked? Who have I sent emails out to? Because while the context might be slightly different, actors have to do very similar things when they're trying to network or contact their agent, or if they're working on a project, actively talking to people involved in that project.
Go to Germany and then come back after 2 months. No, I think I would say I use like making notes, making highlights, making these. I don't know how you call it in English. This star sign, and where you can look at the like in a book where it says a description, and you look at the star, what it means. How do
Yeah.
you call that?
Isn't it like an asterisk? Is that the right word? I
Yes,
don't know. I'm
yes.
probably going to get destroyed by my my really English capable friends.
No, it's the asterisks risks. Yes, exactly that. That's how. Yeah, I mean, my memory has always been quite good for me. So I used to play memory games as a kid. So I'm having I almost have like a how do you call it? The memory that you can. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name right
Well,
now.
like an eidetic memory, a photographic memory.
Photographic memory. That was
Yeah.
it. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm very close to photographic memory. That's why I'm. It's quite easy for me to remember things.
Should
But
have
I
been an
want
actor, Alyssa, with that. That's good. It'll come in
to.
handy, that.
Very.
um, yeah, it's just trying to keep it simple, but making notes and colors, and everybody works differently with that. But it isn't so difficult to be organized once you get your head around it, I think.
Sure.
Yeah,
There's a lot of habit. Yeah, just building good habits, isn't it? And then just sticking with
definitely
that.
a habit.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So you must receive a vast number of quality self-tapes for every role and project that you cast. How much of that narrowing down process for you is based on instinctually who you think is right for the role? Or is there a list of things that you look out for to help you uh, give a yes or a no to certain tapes?
Very much instinct.
Hmm.
Because I've been in this industry for now 13 years. So you just know at some point what's right and what feels right. Um, but in the end, the main most of the decisions are made by the casting director. In my case, that would be Fiona, and then she would narrow it down as well, or she would ask us for what we think. So she always keeps an eye on the tapes in general. But
Hmm.
for me, I mean, we always have the same in the end, we always come to the same conclusion. So I would say it's really an instinct one. And there's not really a yes or no. It's a thing that you just know. Obviously, if the sound isn't right, the picture is blurry, or they send in 7 takes, I'm like, no,
That's
Yeah.
enough.
um, but otherwise, it's just like if you go to a show or you go to a movie and you just know, oh, he was brilliant in that part, or he played it brilliantly. It's just like, yeah, going to a show or theater and seeing that actor perform, you just know. So that's pretty much for us the
But
same.
based on what you said there, with going mainly by instinct,
Yeah.
do you think an end product, whether that be a theatre show, a film, or a series, is a sort of reflection of the personality of the casting director or the director, or a really good mix of the two? As in, do you think you could watch something and say, I could, if I really thought about it, think this is a Fiona Weir TV series, like this is a Nina Gould TV series,
Um,
something like that?
I think it's the director
Hmm.
in the end, because yes, directors have their casting directors sometimes that they work with primarily, so it is also a taste thing. But in the end, it's the director who then sees who can he work with, who takes on the direction right, who did he envision, and we just give him a bunch of people who we think could do it right. But I do believe in the end it is primarily the director's input into the end product. Obviously, casting as well, we give him choices, however. So based on those choices, they then decide who they want to go with. And we would obviously give our opinion on what we think could be right, but it's not our saying that counts in the end. And sometimes it's even like the network, like Netflix or Apple, that make the end decision on some roles that it might be bigger. Um, so I would say, yeah, casting director does. There is a bit of influence on casting director, but at the end, it's the director who then has to work with the actors on set and who he's envisioned for the part. That was
Wow.
what was in
That's
the
really
script was not
interesting.
enough.
Was that for
So
one
it just
particular actor?
a role, a
A
part.
role, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Olissa, actors, we think, should look at an audition script with a question in their head, and that is, why have they chosen this for me to read? From a casting director's point of view, what factors go into the decision behind the sides that the actors get sent to tape, with the idea in our minds that you had the luxury of more than that scene to choose from?
That is a very good question. I think that we have like already an initial idea because alongside with the script, you get like a character description sent with the script. So we mostly read this little paragraph of what the character is made out, and then the script itself just makes it more colorful and brings more life to the script. So basically, based on the character description that we get, we already have an idea of who we would like to see, and then by reading the script, we'll just get a more clear idea of where it could go. However, when we, for example, did Ted Lasso, we didn't get all 10 episodes at once. We would still be casting episode 3, whilst episode 7 would still be written. So sometimes it's the actor's choice what they do in episode 3 for the writers to then navigate where they see this character going. So it's not always that we have full scripts when it comes to TV series. And also with full scripts, you don't always have the final draft. So there sometimes can be changes because there's an updated draft, there's this happening. So when you start a show, you usually never have the full script as such. You do always get updated versions. And the sides that are sent to the actor just display that mostly is chosen by the director or the producer to see different facets of the character. But we choose the actors based on the description that we have and the first initial read, knowing that the character could maybe completely change, however. Mostly it doesn't, but there are times when they then take it to a complete different direction. But yeah, we mostly based on the initial description that we have, we already get an idea of who we want, and then the script either confirms it or it changes it, and that makes us then also change our search. So it's very depending on the script, as you said, which can be it's very fluid. There's a lot of fluidity in there, fluidity. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Here at Actors Coaching International, we like to partner up with the best, which is why we're offering In the Room listeners 20% discount on all of our classes. When booking, simply put in capital letters, In Room 20, that's In Room 20, in the discount code, or email us hello@actorsci.com, mentioning In the Room when booking.
This doesn't always happen, but I'm interested about when someone in casting goes from working on projects in a huge variety of genres and mediums to later down the line narrowing that down to a point where they can be known as someone who casts, say, comedy. Is it a case of a career circumstance or finding your niche or love of something specific?
I think it depends. If you're a casting associate, then obviously it's the office that you're working in. It's your casting director that says yes or no to specific projects. So that's what you're just going to do because you're in her office, her or his office. Um, and then along down the line, when you do get your own stuff, I think it's also depending on what you can get. How much have you established yourself? How picky can you be? And if you found your niche, I think try and go for it. But am I answering this question?
Yeah.
I am. Okay. I think, yeah, like Catherine Willis is probably known as one who does comedy, or Amy Hubbard does the drama.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody has found their own niche because they just figured out that's something they're good at, I suppose. But
Hmm.
it depends on different things. I guess which office you're in, and then also later on, if you go as your own casting director, if you can get those jobs because you've already made yourself a name, or maybe not, then you have to get what you get, take what you get. Sorry, that way around.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned there, a lot of it, until you're beyond that associate stage, and then a lot of casting directors work on various, work in one office, but then also cast some stuff freelance on the side. I know Sydney Aldridge, who we spoke to in series one, who's brilliant, works with Sasha Robertson, but also casts her own stuff on the side. From your opinion, is there anything, whether that be genre or anything really specific, that you always love casting? And then is there anything that you maybe haven't had a go at casting yet that you'd like to?
I did enjoy Ted Lasso because it was the first comedy thing that I really did. I hadn't really done comedy before as such, but I also like true stories, like projects that are based on true stories. I love them, but you also have to
Yeah.
really get that right. um, so I feel that's a tricky one because you want to make this story do it justice and do it right. So I think if I were, and there's something that I haven't done, is probably like a big Hollywood blockbuster, but I'm not too bothered. I think one thing I might want to try is like a Scandinavian drama or something, because I'm Danish. So obviously I speak Danish, and I could live I have somewhere to live in Denmark, so that might be on my to-do list to do something. A nice Scandinavian project is, I think, something I would like to look at some point.
Yeah, that'd be super fun. I'd love to be in Vikings or something like that.
Yeah, not sure I'd fit that, but
I could see you playing Ragnar.
with 9 months to grow some bum fluff, yeah, maybe. Otherwise, there's no beard on the way. Anyway, move on.
Yeah. Alyssa, I'm really interested in sometimes actors get a script with, I don't know, 12, 24 hours to learn 5 pages. What is it a case of casting directors get sent these sides literally the day before and then they send it out to actors? Because sometimes it's frustrating that you get them for 12 hours and you need to do all this sort of work. Why is there not more time around it?
um, the offices that I've worked for, we've always made sure that the actors get enough time.
Hmm.
So I know that we always make sure that they get at least 3-4 days in advance,
That's really good.
even if it's one line. we would still ask for 3 days to get that one line down. And if it's really that short notice, I would say it was only because we would have gotten it in that time. But normally it shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't happen. And we make sure that that is not the case. If we get a script and we get sides, then we make sure that there's enough time for the actor to prepare, and not 24 hours, like at least 3 days.
Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Absolutely. I was going to follow up on that because I think sometimes casting directors get a bad rap with that because it's not actually the casting director's decision that leads to those circumstances sometimes, especially in like commercials casting. It's often, whatever brand it might be, changing the brief at the 11th hour, sometimes even to the point where the actors that are called in now can't tape for it because they're 10 years too young or something like that. So I think sometimes casting directors are being told, why don't you send out the script early? And actually it's not the casting director's decision on a lot of these projects.
No, because it also would make us look bad, because we would then get clients in that weren't able to deliver properly or be prepared properly, and then we would be asked, why are they so terrible? And put it that I'm over exaggerating, obviously, but we want to make sure that we give them the best of the best, and the people are best prepared. So we would make ourselves look stupid if we would give some, like, from that point of view as well, that actors need to consider how it makes us look like. So we wouldn't really do that.
That's really interesting because that just takes a slight mental jump that I agree with you. I don't think a lot of actors do, to just go, no, we are on the same side here. It's not just casting directors want you to be good. That goes right down to getting the scripts as early as possible. I like, because everyone's reputation's on the line. I find that really interesting. Obviously you've mentioned Ted Lasso, and you've been a part of casting. That's a global phenomenon these days. You've been involved in the casting process in some really exciting projects. Are there any tapes, auditions, or moments in casting that just stand out to you? Whether that's that one actor that did that self-tape that you'll never forget it, or that audition you'll never forget.
Well, I think for Ted Lasso, there are a few people that just stood out. I mean, they all stood out. They were all clearly, everybody that we cast did a fantastic audition, and we saw so many fantastic people. Phil Dunster, he was the one that I remember very clearly, and Cristo Fernandez. I think those are the two that just, Cristo did his self-tape whilst he was in Mexico, and he just made us laugh so much. So we created an extra character for him, which was Danny Rojas, which originally was Jamie Tart and is now played by Phil Dunster. But when Phil came into the room, he just had this confidence, first of all, that no other actor really brought into the room, and he was a bit cheeky. And he made fun of my pronunciation at some words in the script because I didn't really get it because I'm not from England.
Yeah.
And I was like, how dare he? But he made me laugh so much, and I was rooting for him. But I think he just made it a bit different from everybody else. And I remember that audition it's so clearly in my head that I can recall that. It was the confidence and just how he just approached the role. It was really different.
Yeah, and I think you can only do that if that's in the moment, just how the instinct goes. Because I think some people go, confidence, is it? Bash through the door, go up to hug everyone or something. Well, you wouldn't do that these days, or just make these big decisions for the sake of it, and it's totally not them. So I think, as you say, it's standing out and confidence, but that's legitimate to yourself. And I presume as a casting director, I've been on the other side of the table a couple of times in some small projects, and I think you can always tell when actors aren't being themselves, even if you don't know them, or at least something's off.
Yep. 100%. You know that you can, if you can read actors and energies and vibes and guts, you can always tell if a person is true to themselves or putting on a show, even though they're actors. You're not that greatest actor that I can't see behind a facade.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to use the rapid fire question section of our second series today to be really specific and ask you a ton of questions about Showreels. It's not something we thought we could get done in one question. We want to ask you a ton of, 10 questions on Showreels that we'd love if you could answer in one sentence or less. These are 10 Showreel questions. Okay. Are you ready for some Showreel questions, Olissa?
Yes.
Fantastic. Here we go. Christian, do you want to kick us off?
I will. What would you be if you weren't a casting director?
That
Oh my gosh, a teacher.
I think Christian's reading from the wrong document there. I think you're reading through. So we've got 2 sets of rapid fires because I forgot that I've got your really specific showreel questions up. So I wrote 10 additional rapid fire questions. I sent those over to him, and now bless him, I've stitched him right up.
Right. Okay. We're gonna cut, and we're gonna go from the new ones.
There was this pause when he asked you that you went, "This isn't showreels, teacher." Incredible work.
Right.
I think we keep this in. You don't cut that at all. This is excellent comedy
go.
work.
Ready? Take 2.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Montages, yes or no?
What are montages? Sorry, just my German and my not. I need to fish a bit more seconds on that one.
Let's go for it. So it's like a collection of clips that some people put at the very start of a showreel that have 1 or 2 seconds and all squeezed together, sometimes with some theme music behind it, I've seen.
Okay, no.
Cool. Individual reels for, drama, comedy, etc., or one reel with variety?
Separate reel, like separate comedy and separate drama.
Credits on the bottom of each clip or nothing?
Nothing. Oh yeah, no, on the bottom of the clip. Yes, on the bottom of the clip.
Headshots, name, and spotlight pin slate at the start?
Yep.
What's the ideal length of a reel?
4 minutes.
Stage clips in a screen showreel, yes or no?
No.
Can a reel made up of homemade monologues to camera provide the same opportunities as an industry standard reel?
I think if the acting is the same, if the acting stands out as the same on both, yeah, as long it's the acting I look at. Yeah, if the acting's as strong as in the other one, yeah.
Great, I love that. Extremely emotive content. Is it good to prove you can do it and have that on your reel, or is it too intense to put on a show reel in like a 30-second clip for a casting director who just wants to see you act?
It doesn't have to be too extreme. It can be, but I wouldn't put it straight in the beginning.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, something to ease into. Let's put it that way.
Do you typically watch the whole reel or just click on random points?
I skim through. I watch the first seconds because then I know if somebody's good or not, and then I normally skim through it until if there's something I want to specifically see.
3 words to describe a great showreel?
Good sound, good picture quality, and good acting.
Love it.
3 words to describe a bad showreel.
The montages, if it's like too much background music and there's only like 1 or 2 seconds and then of you, but 50 seconds of the other actor just because he's famous and you're in there for 2 seconds, but I can't see your acting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for answering those rapid fire questions on showreels, Olissa. There was no bumps in the road on that one. That was fantastic.
Just a little bit.
Thank you so much. We'll crack on. We've got 2 questions just to wrap up. Headshots and showreels are arguably the 2 main things actors can use to generate opportunities. Are there other things actors can use, or just ways of operating that are overlooked or underappreciated?
I think I always tell to people to like create your own content, put on shows, and if it's a small pub like a small theater pub, your chances of getting seen by a casting director and being remembered are higher by those invites than I think that's like one of the things that sometimes are overlooked, where actors don't use enough time and effort to create their own content nowadays.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd love to ask you what on a show invite for, an off West End, a fringe theatre, above a pub theatre, what shows that are put on at those venues would make you turn up and watch?
I'm my time. If I don't have anything in the calendar, I'll go. I don't really differentiate from if it's a West End show or a fringe. Sometimes I just like a good fringe because it's just like raw talent, that people that just don't have that, haven't had the opportunity to get that part in that show because the role just wasn't there for them yet. So I don't have any preferences, as long, sometimes if it's too far out and I'm really tired, or I just need to get home like early, then I would probably prefer something that's more easier to get to. But if as such, I don't have any favorites.
That's good to hear. You're always such a positive force on social media. I'd love to ask you for something to think about for some motivation to finish our podcast with.
I'll take the motto of Ted Lasso, which is believe.
Mm.
Alongside of what you put out there, you get back. Will get back to you in return. Treat people as you want to be treated, and know that if it didn't happen, it's because it's not the right time yet. And if something is a setback, it's not a setback. It's just a lesson to learn that will make you just stronger, and you will learn in the end why it had to happen that way. It's just, it's just not supposed to be yet, but it will, as long as you believe in it and you believe in yourself. Because most of the people don't believe in themselves. That's the first thing that keeps them from it, is actually believing in themselves and their talent. So I think believing yourself, be patient. It's a waiting game, and just trust that it'll all work out how it's supposed to work out.
Boom.
Absolutely.
Easier said than done, but it's true.
No, I totally agree with you. And, you know, if it was so easy, then everyone would be doing it, right? And I totally agree with you, that self-belief, especially I think in British and English actors, I think sometimes, you know, some people are idiots, but, you know, me included, but a lot of people are too shy to be confident sometimes, and that self-belief is a good thing, as you say. I think that's a lovely thought to wrap things up with. It's been a joy talking to you this evening, Olissa, so thank you so much for taking time out of your weekend to chat to us, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's like right back at you.